Hello everybody, what is up? Cobra here, getting ready to paint up some of my new pieces and modified pieces for my Global War 2025 game. Now, as you know from the title of this video, I'm going to be showing you how to modify some of your tanks for the Russian coalition in Global War 2025. Now, as I went over in my review and people that may own this game, the Russian units are the same as the Chinese. So here you can see this is a next generation Chinese MBT, and it's, given to the Russians just as a shared unit. But I was kind of disappointed that the Russians didn't get their own units, and so I was debating on, trying to find some website that sold these, or maybe get a friend to 3D print me some. But as I was looking at the T14 Armada, which is one of my favorite new next generation MBTs from Russia, the Armada and this tank, and I forget the Chinese designation of this, are very similar, like especially when you look at the holes of each of the tanks with this kind of flat broadside, kind of a squared off rear end, and low degree slope in the front. They look very similar. So what I decided to do, and if you look way back on my channel, I had a couple videos on how to modify your Axis and Allies out-of-box pieces. It was mainly to make French units out of the Russian ones included. I decided to try and modify these units to get them to look more like T14 Armadas. So here you can see kind of step one of my process. Now, modifying your pieces never looks good when you just start out. As you can see, as you cut and bend plastic, it doesn't show up well, it changes the color. So I guess definitely if you are going to do this, you're going to want to paint your pieces, which I'm doing. So first off, so mainly the big modifications are to the turret, and what I wanted to do first was try to peel these turrets off. They're molded in two parts. Let's see if we can get that to focus. But I couldn't, and unless you get some kind of defect in your turret piece, you're likely not going to be able to remove that two-piece mold because it's really stuck in there well. So it makes the process a little bit more difficult. But again, like I said, this isn't a complete piece. But what you have to do is take your X-Acto blade, and I guess the best thing to do is just kind of get creative and go off of some pictures. If you look up like T14 blueprints, you can get some good top-down photos. Now, this model, I went a little bit more for the thinned out version that doesn't have the added on armor plating. So you can see around the side here, I've thinned out the turret so it doesn't go all the way to the edge of the tank. And on the other side, you can see I've got that like little subtle angle there, and then it cuts in to that rear little ammunition storage area. And then the last modification I made was the spare exposed oil tank or fuel tanks are removed, and because they don't exist on the Armada, they're probably stored internally. So I cut those off, and yeah. One thing, if you really just want to get like an easy modification in, because this turret does look fairly similar to the Armada turret, where it angles and slopes and stuff like that. So if you want to get like the silhouette right, if you just chop off these little fuel tanks, it does look pretty convincing as a T14 Armada tank. And I guess while we're modifying Russian pieces, I can show you the paint that I'm going to be using for the Russians. And I usually go with Rust-Oleum. I've always used Rust-Oleum paint plus primer. This stuff, you can always get it for a good price, and they come in a lot of colors, especially if you go to like a Home Depot or something. And so I was just looking around for paints, and you can see this one here, flat red. It not only, you can see that it basically is like a color match. I painted one of these pieces, or like half painted one of these pieces recently, and it literally matches this color pretty much like on point. So if you are looking to do something like this, or maybe as you can see here, throw in some new pieces, I definitely suggest Rust-Oleum flat red primer as your color match for Russians. I wasn't trying to match the color, and as you can see over here, we've got some other spray paints for different nations. The Americans and NATO are a little lighter than you would usually see. So yeah, I'm just gonna do a little time lapse of another Armada, and you guys can see how I do that. It's not gonna be great, but of course, like I said, it's up to you to kind of follow this as inspiration and maybe try this out on a couple of your own Chinese tanks to turn them into more Russian-styled MBTs. All right, and there you have it. That probably took me under 3 minutes to do this real quick, and as you can see with my second attempt, I'm liking my work a little bit better now. I've slightly refined what I've done, so I guess we'll get another piece up here to compare the two. So, as you can see, I have basically thinned out each side of the turret, so the turret overall is a little bit thinner, a little more narrow. This little rear ammunition storage area I've cut down and kind of angled on each side, and then I've further separated. You can see right there with the close-up shot, you've got these little notches where it leads in to that ammunition stowage area, and of course cut off those fuel storage areas. And overall I really like this piece, and let me paint it up for you and I'll show you what it looks like all finished up and looking nice. Right, so now that it is painted, you can see that from afar these tanks definitely do look unique now. You know, of course similar, but a lot of MBTs do nowadays, and of course with these simple modifications you definitely get a new nice looking custom tank out of it. So you can see that from afar, the big things that you can take away is the turret is now smaller in a lot of regards to the out-of-box Chinese MBT. So the sides of it have just been shaved down at slight angles, and then up close you've got the notch where the little the tail of the ammunition stowage system sticks out. And you can see we got some angled plating. Of course, the fuel tanks being removed definitely helps to give this tank a different silhouette, at least in the hull section. And stacked up to the original MBT, it's definitely, you know, it looks different. So I'm really happy with this modification. And as a little bonus, I'm going to show you the next modification that I'm doing to the Russians. And that is in regards to their LHT, or landing helicopter dock. So, what I'm trying to emulate here with the helicopter dock, of course, again, it's a Chinese Type 76 unit, but I want it to be a more Russian design. So I did a little bit of research, and if you look up Russian LHTs, you'll find out that I guess a little bit of story for 2025 too that has to do with, you know, the real life happenings, is that the Russians did order a couple of LHTs back in the mid-2000s, or around like 2012-ish, I think, from the French, you know, to be built by the French. And that was supposed to be, or called the Mistral class LHD. And as some of you know, that is the Caliphate LHT in this game. So the Caliphate has the Mistral class, and that is because once the French had kind of figured out and decided that they didn't want to build amphibious assault ships for the Russians, they ended up selling their complete ships to the Egyptian Navy, which the Egyptian Navy still possesses. So that is why basically the Caliphate gets a technically proposed Russian amphibious assault ship. So what I hope to do is emulate a different LHT. It is the Project, I think 2300 Universal Assault Ship. So that is a proposed design, and basically it's got some simple modifications that I could do to this one to make it look a little bit like a different one. So the first thing is basically taking just some sandpaper and a block and shaving down the sides, because on this universal carrier, the sides don't have any little sponsons for guns or expanded helicopter elevators. It's probably all built into the deck. So basically you'll see a smoother finish on the sides, and just around the conning tower area, I'm probably going to leave it mostly the same. I might cut it down a little bit and angle that front section to have a little bit closer of a 45-degree slope, but I will time-lapse that and show you the product of what you'll get in the end. Right, and here is the finished product, and once again you can see that while slight, there is definitely a noticeable difference between the two LHDs now. So of course the biggest thing is the new silhouette from the deck. Doesn't feature any more elevators, and around the bridge section it has been changed a little bit. So let's see if I can kind of show you guys side by side. There we go. So you can see that the bridge is overall shorter and more flat on top of the deck, and along with there's, you know, a little bit more of an angle now. So again, very slight modifications, but it definitely helps at giving off a nice and unique ship. So like, you know, if you have the Russian Navy and the Chinese Navy side by side, you know, in some fleet, you can see that the Russians have a noticeably different LHD to the Chinese. So all of these units help to give the Russians a bit more of a flair in your games, you know, without having to spend any money at all, you know, because unless you don't have some simple materials like sandpaper. But I hope you guys enjoyed this modification video, and if you have any other ideas that you would like to see, you know, maybe you had thoughts on the Russian Navy or some other ships in the Russian Navy that you would have liked to see differently and you think could be modified, definitely post some ideas down below, and post anything that you've tried yourself in trying to achieve some more unique armies in this game. So overall, I hope you guys enjoyed this little video, and I hope I've inspired you guys to go out and do some little craft projects like this and make your games just a little bit cooler without having to spend any extra money for the holiday season. So, see you guys again. Be sure to subscribe and leave a comment down below. Cobra, out.